Welcome to the Deep Violet podcast. I'm Vittoria and I speak with artists, asking them why they do what they do and how they got to this point. For this episode, I spoke with Sara Khan, who is a Vancouver-based artist. She was born in England in Birmingham, but is originally from Pakistan, where she grew up and lived in Lahore. She got her Bachelor of Fine Arts there at the National College of Art. She's now lived in Vancouver for over 10 years and is an integral and valuable part of the art scene there. In 2018, she did the Vancouver Mural Fest. And in 2022, she did her recent solo show at the Seymour Art Gallery titled, and now bear with me, this is not in English, Miti K Tile, which, sorry if I butchered that, but it translates to mounds of soil. Most recently, she did a 2-person show with artist Sandeed Johad titled Rays at the Evergreen Art Gallery. She has also shown internationally in Berlin in a group show in 2022 titled Open Encounters at the Art Co Gallery, as well as the Art Camp International Residency in Norway. In this interview, we really went in depth, so I decided to divide it into 2 episodes because we really talked about so much. She touches almost every medium from watercolor, her primary medium, to ceramics, textile, and so much more. She creates these fantastical works which feel as if she's passing on wisdom and teaching us something through the world she creates and the creatures she creates. The work is delicate, yes, has a powerful presence, and learning about her process and creative journey was such an honor. I really hope this episode reminds you and all of us the power of fictional narratives. I hope you enjoy the episode. Yeah, I'm really excited because I was saying to you at the beginning that I saw your work at Bath.
Yes.
Yeah, in 2018.
Did you see it in 2018?
I think
2018 I had it for the mural. One of my paintings was there, the one that the mural was taken from.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2022 I finished my residency there.
Okay, maybe that's when I saw your work.
Yeah, I think I met you there.
I first met you there, and I was like so drawn to your work, and I followed you ever since. So I'm so excited to ask you all these questions.
Yes, I'm excited too.
So just to start off, and kind of get people, well, we have some of your work behind you, but to kind of get people like started, how would you describe your work, material-wise and subject-wise? Kind of, how do you work?
Yeah. I feel like I loved children's illustrations in the books I read as a kid. My father would bring us really beautiful illustrated children's books, and I now feel, when I think about it, that a lot of my work, I think that's where the seeds of creativity began or were sowed. So a lot of my work is very illustrative. It's not illustrating anything specific, but illustrative in the sense that you see some kind of a story unfolding. Yeah. So it's figurative, it's representational, and it is also slightly otherworldly in the sense that there's a lot of magical or fantastical elements in it. There's a lot of human-animal hybrids. It also, I think a huge turning point for me with my work happened when I read 100 Years of Solitude back in
I know this book.
Yes, back in college maybe or earlier, and magic realism became a really interesting concept to me back then, and I think that's sort of stayed with me, this idea of something very ordinary happening, something very everyday, an everyday situation that you're very familiar with, but it sort of takes a strange turn when there's magical elements in it. Something's absurd also happening at the same time that's sort of otherworldly or maybe unsettling. So I feel, although my practice has mostly been water-based mediums on paper, because I love paper, and I really enjoy the way water-based mediums can sort of take their own shape and form when you have more water used. They can also be, you can also work at controlling them. So it's sort of like a back and forth. There's like a little bit of
a give and take.
A give and take, like a and because a lot of my work starts off from dialogues, like discussions I've had with family or friends, or inner monologues. Like a lot of these things I jot down notes, and a lot of the imagery that happens on the paper comes from my experience, the things I'm observing around me, and then all these discussions and the books I'm reading. I will jot down quotes from them. So all of these things sort of come together in sort of discussion form on the paper. And there is a little bit of a back and forth where I'm sort of like letting the inks or the paints do whatever they want, and then I'm sort of trying to hone them in or make them do what I want. So I feel like it's more of a discussion. Then it's not so rigid. So there's a mixture of these things happening. My work is quite autobiographical, so I think I take a lot from around me. And then the mediums I use are used for all of these things that I mentioned, but I'm also because I was interested in telling stories, open-ended stories, things that you can sort of take and make your own. I've also sort of started working with other mediums, or I've brought other mediums into drawing. Drawing is a huge thing as well for me, because drawing is I find it very sort of spontaneous, but then you can sort of control it as well.
And it's like the birthplace of so many creative things.
And ideas. It's so easy to jot down ideas quickly through a drawing. I just find it very, very it's very, very immediate. And I love that. So I like the idea of playing with both, with immediacy and then also slowness. Like then making it very, very slow. So my process of creating these paintings is actually very, very slow. So the idea will be very immediate. I'll be thinking of something, of all of these things, and then have a very clear vision of what I want to sort of represent on paper. But then, and it'll be very immediate. But then the process of building it will be very, very slow.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's a really, I always call art like this, but it's a real labor of love and time. And you just really build something in narrative. That's really interesting. And sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, which is why when I initially sit down to work, it'll be very, very. I can't listen to anything that'll take my attention off. So the drawing, the beginning part of the drawing, will be very, very. I need to maybe listen to music or whatever. But once I get into the painting and the building of the composition over that course of time, I can be listening to something. Like we were discussing podcasts and stuff. I can listen to them then.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So when it's more about the jotting down of whatever I've been percolating in my head, I need to be there.
Focused. Like locked in. And then so you work with watercolor, obviously we said, and you've also been doing textile work, right?
Yes.
I love these.
Yes. So for the longest time I'd been doing I love, like I said, my work is very drawing based, so it's always been very, very I've always been very close to paper and any kind of two-dimensional thing I can do with that paper. But as I played around with that over the years, I started thinking about how I could create something larger. Like we have that I don't know, I guess it's that desire to sort of change what do you call it, sizes and sort of get out of the frame, or you get sort of feel like I don't know if maybe it's like that with all creatives. We sort of start feeling like we're getting limited by certain things that we've chosen to work with. And I think after a certain point, that was getting frustrating. How do I get, like, the square or the rectangle of the paper also sometimes gets frustrating. The size of paper can get frustrating. So how do I get out of this? How do I go bigger? I went bigger with the watercolor painting, like buying rolls of watercolor paper, and that was a lot of fun as well. But I still wanted it to be larger, and remaining true to, you know, my language, or however I wanted to create whatever. So I started thinking about fabric and textiles. I was playing with tracing sheets. Because I play a lot in my studio, in the sense that, you know, just sort of experimenting with different tiny bits and pieces, or you know, cut up paintings or whatever. And I was playing around with tracing sheets, and as soon as I started putting shapes or silhouettes on top of one tracing sheet cut up onto another, I started thinking about, you know, gauzy see-through fabrics. And I loved that idea of, you know, it looking like, what do you call it? You know, when you give washes, you know, watercolor washes. They're really flat, but then they're sort of, they just sort of sit on top of each other, right? It's that kind of transparency I really, really love. So I felt like I could do that with fabric, and that's why I began with the first piece I did was very, it's mainly white. It's white, transparent, cut up pieces of fabric. And I couldn't sew it because you could see the thread then, so I had to use glue.
Interesting.
Iron-on glue. So through that whole process, I learned what all I could do with fabric, and then I always wanted to, because in my paintings as well, I use a lot of patterns and stuff that I've grown up around. Back in Lahore, everybody just sort of is surrounded by different patterns, in the sense that in mosques you'll find tiles, you'll find patterns and color on rickshaws and trucks, and then even our clothes are really like full of patterns and colors. So I've always, because I've sometimes referred to family photos or pictures of moms and aunts and really colorful clothing, you'll see textile pieces in my work, or patterns in my work. And that also made me think about how I could start using actual textiles in my work.
Of course.
So I did the white piece, and then from there I was like, okay, maybe I can actually use these textiles in my textile pieces. And I wanted to go towards color. I always sort of tend to start with, like, even with the watercolor paintings, before them there was charcoal drawings. So, you know, there's not thinking about color first, thinking more about the story, the composition, and then go further into it. So the same thing happened with the textiles. So it's to sort of stretch out and go larger, and that's how textiles came into the picture.
And then I guess it kind of felt like a natural language almost.
Yes.
Like it fit in.
It fit in. Yeah, and it's just, it has that same slowness when it comes to actually producing the pieces. Very slow, repetitive process, which I really like. I like this something that sort of slows you down through the day, because everything's just so fast-paced. And I'm not fast-paced.
Do you hand sew them?
Yes, so initially I was using a lot of the hot glue, which is, by the way, also a slow process.
Yeah, I can imagine.
With the iron, especially if you're doing something large. Exactly. But then in the recent textile pieces that I did with Cindy, it was I did a lot of the sewing
by hand.
It was like a mixture of sewing by hand, getting help with the machine, because they were quite large, and my baby was small, and only recently I've decided that actually Sandeep gave me a lot of seeing her, observing her, because she's very respectful of craft. So if she's sewing, she's going to be sewing, and she's very, very meticulous and very neat. With me, I am very self-taught when it comes to, and I'm sure she is too, but like I'm not so meticulous about it's about doing it and finding different ways of doing it than being very
formal,
disciplined or formal about. So which is great, because that made me find that, you know, I didn't know there was a thing that you could use iron and glue, which is extremely useful for, especially if you want to do these, you know, seeds transparent stuff. Exactly. But seeing her gave me the encouragement to do things by hand, because it is very, very gratifying. Doing it by hand.
It's very what's the word? Like meditative.
It's very meditative,
right?
And I love,
and just
it's
really nice.
It's really nice, because I enjoy like knitting as well. Although I have barely ever made anything or completed anything, but it's just sitting
it's
there.
It's the repetitive motion.
It's very comforting. And embroidery is something I've done more of than even sewing, and I love it.
Yeah, it's very soothing. And you've also done so. Have you done painting, like oil painting or anything like that?
I used to do oil painting back in art college. I did it really well. I enjoyed it.
Sure,
it's just very laborious, but it doesn't give me that. You know, this thing of with watercolor, I find it challenging in the sense that if you've covered it with paint, there's no way of going back. Like, you know, with oil painting and acrylics, you can just sort of brush over it. So everything, you have to make sure that everything, you don't waste things. You have to sort of, you know, paper, you've done something wrong and you're going to have to tear it up and throw it away. But I don't like doing that. I want to use up everything. I don't like wasting things.
Of course.
So through these things that I've had, you know, these personality traits or whatever, where nothing can go to waste. My everybody in my family makes fun of me for this. Nothing can go to waste and all of this. I found ways to make everything work. You know, if something goes wrong, it can be changed into something else.
But it quality.
I hope so. But also with, like, you know, the larger pieces where I had planned to do something and it doesn't happen that way, I'll find new ways of coming around it, or figure out new ways of, you know, making that particular failure work or that particular mistake work. So I love that about it. With oils, it's a completely different thing. I think oils are wonderful. It's a wonderful medium, but I find it thick and laborious, and it's not. I don't find it light from anywhere, and I like to work with
something light,
something that sort of
breathable, maybe.
Breathable, and it's. I mean, all of these can go into the ground and disappear. I find that a lot of this more, you know, archival quality work, it can survive beyond us forever. Exactly, which is great. And which is probably why most galleries want you to work with it. But there's something heavy about that. I don't know how to put my finger on it in words, but there's something sort of
unnatural, maybe.
I don't want to. I think all mediums are wonderful.
No, of course, but it's all about like what works for you. And, right? And
at the moment, this works for me. It also works for me practically, because I can't do watercolor, oil work in this room, for example. Apparently they've become far more user friendly. But when I used to work with them, there's terps and all of this kind of stuff, turpentine, and I can't work with little kids in the house with that kind of stuff.
So. And even just like having an oil paint, like they paint a little bit better, but like it's still like metals in the paint.
Exactly.
And you also work with clay.
I recently started working with clay, and last year gave me the opportunity. Doing that show with Sandeep, they had a kiln,
Oh, wow.
So it gave me the opportunity to play around with clay, which I always wanted to, because, you know, there's this thing with the paper having its constraints, and then textiles. I mean, you can go further with textiles, or I went further with textiles, but then with clay you can go 3-dimensional, which was very exciting. So yeah, I don't think I'm consciously thinking about that, but I think I just want to see what I can do. Yeah. And that's why I start playing with these things, and then it depends on how far it'll go. But it's very exciting for me to play with a new medium. It always has been. As much as once I've been playing with clay for a while, I was desperate to go back to my drawing board and just draw.
That's
and
interesting
paint.
How
does that. It just pulls me.
Yeah. So you gotta dip your toe in almost all of the mediums, I'd say.
The things that I've come across and I've been excited about, and I'm looking for a studio to do more ceramic work. I found a studio. I'm not sure if they'll be able to accommodate me, but I went to a studio and I started playing with it again, and it was just so exciting.
It's fun.
It's just so much fun, and it's nice to have a studio. Because managing clay and paper here was very, very difficult.
I can imagine,
because, you know,
it's messy.
It's messy, exactly. And these are not, these can get damaged pretty easily.
Yeah, of course.
So clay has been very exciting. I'm still figuring things out. I have a whole plethora of drawings that I want to turn into ceramics, which is very exciting. And I love the process of ceramics. It's sort of like that whole thing of, you know how they say we are formed by clay, and then the more we go through challenges, we get tougher and tougher. I find that with clay, in the sense that it you make it and it's fragile, and it goes through that kiln and it becomes tougher if it survives, and then it goes through it again, and if it survives it gets tougher. That whole thing I really like. I also like these maybe these ways of making are considered primitive. I don't know, like, paper on, it's all very basic art, I guess, what you think of as the simplest forms of making, in a way, pencil and paper, or clay, or even textiles. It's textiles, the history of textiles. If you go into it, it's like so
vast.
It's so vast, and it's so shared by everybody. On the globe. So all of these things, wearing clothes and making pots. I love. If it is primitive, great. I love primitive.
Or like the tradition behind it, and the fact that it's something that's been carried on, and
the fact that it's always been around, right? Like clothes and pots and pans have always been made by all sorts of civilizations.
It's just, and we get to recontextualize.
It's just really exciting to be doing that same thing that everybody's sort of automatically, almost naturally made these things to be used,
and now we're doing it.
And
it feels like being part of something. I don't know, that's at least how I feel about it.
Something a little more grounded. Somehow I like that it feels a bit grounded to be working with cloth and
it's
fabric,
it's hands-on, it's something that you're doing it with your whole body, in the sense of like you're thinking about it, you're looking at it, you're feeling it, and you're smelling it, especially if you're doing like clay, right?
And then I love how you have like perfectly made, built pots and stuff, using the wheel and stuff. I love then not doing that, making something really absurd with it, like a foot that looks that's a vase as well. I don't know, something ridiculous like that, like something that is maybe not very useful. So the idea of going into it, thinking about its uses and how the traditions behind it and all of that, but then flipping it.
Well, that's the most fun thing to do. So we kind of it's so interesting to hear about like how you get kind of excited about trying all these new things and how you like contextualize them in your practice. Kind of an interesting like flip side to this is How often do you, when you're making work, do you think about the viewer or who's perceiving it? How often is that in your mind?
Yeah. To be honest, Vittoria, I never think about it,
Really?
especially not when I'm making the work or if I've, how my bodies of work usually begin. There's not really a beginning or an end, so to speak, because I'm just sort of thinking through everything that I'm going through and then making a lot of notes and jotting down things and then drawing a lot in my sketchbook, and then I'll begin. And then there's certain things that'll convert into larger paintings that are, on the pencil or water-based mediums on paper, and then certain things are like, certain little sketches and drawings I've made. I feel like they'll convert better using some other medium. So I'm only thinking about how I want to express this larger idea in my head, like, for example, by larger idea I don't mean something big or grand or anything, but like, whatever I'm going through, whatever experience I'm having, that has a stronger hold on me in that given moment, it'll be basically just that. I'll only be thinking about that. How is that best expressed? So initially I'm not thinking about the viewer at all. Maybe when it comes to, getting like a show, somebody offering me a show, then when it comes to, I've started thinking about it more when it comes to the install, obviously, because now it's going to be seen. But when I'm making, I'm not thinking at all about people. I'm just thinking about how can I best resolve this thought and convert it into something that then will resonate, not resonate, sorry, that then will come together to form one large picture. Each image, how it forms a larger thought, and then all of those thoughts come together. How
interesting. And have you always been like that? Has that always been like, or do you think maybe when you were younger and you first started working, were you thinking maybe more about the viewer?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question because I was always like this when I was very little, as it is with most kids. I used to love drawing and painting. My family was extremely encouraging. One of my uncles still has like a large drawing by me from when I was, I don't know, very little.
That's so special.
Probably 8 or something. So they were very encouraging, and I always loved drawing and painting, and I used to show it to everybody all the time. But I used to just make, because as kids we just make. As I grew older, it was the same in school, but in art college somehow that got derailed in the sense that I started thinking about, because you have to give juries all the time and all of this kind of stuff, and you have to discuss the work and sort of, what is the word, like sort of
expose?
You're exposed, and then you have to sort of
defend
it. That's the word. Defend it. And I understand now what they were trying to do, but I think there's a better way to do that.
Interesting.
I think another exercise that we could have done in art college was like looking at the work as a different person, like imagining you're one of your friends and you're looking at your work, and then what do you see? Because that sort of gives you a better feedback than defending yourself.
I mean, it's funny. I was talking about this with the other person that I was talking to, and we were just saying, I was saying how I think that critiques are I think they're important. Just for that phase of your life. And I hear some people being like, critiques are so important, I wish I had them outside of school, and I'm like, that's a very specific way to look at your art and have your art perceived and think about your work. It's a very hyper focus on certain things, and maybe for some people it works, but I think it's a good exercise for that time of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you learn, like, you learn to contextualize your work and figure out where you stand, because then you can learn a lot from whatever's happened in history or whatever's happening now as well. Exactly. Definitely, it was very useful. I loved art school. Every bit of it was a lot of fun. More for the fun of it. I found my people there, so I really loved it for that. I hated school. So I found the weirdos there, which was great. The good kind, exactly. So it was great that way. But work-wise, there are certain hang-ups I definitely took away from art college. Making work that would fit into a gallery, or making work that would lead to, I don't know, a museum or a history book, opportunities, whatever. Making work that sort of means something, or making work that people would appreciate you for. That all I did, I need to paint with oils on large canvases. That's the only way I'm going to get anywhere. Those kind of things were how to be a serious artist or whatever. Those kind of things were definitely became a speed bump, or maybe a mountain I had to sort of climb over and keep shedding them. I think they tend to creep back in as well sometimes.
Of course.
You have to constantly. I do feel like I'm in a good place where I really don't care. At least at the moment, I'm actually sort of. I don't know if it's might be disillusionment from the major art world, global art world there is, which is more. I feel more and more focused on money, and then also just there are certain people with that whole thing that we're dealing with all the time in the world. There's certain people with the money who have the power type of thing. So maybe the disillusionment comes from there, but maybe it's not disillusionment. It's just disinterest. I'm not really interested. Not really my focus. So that makes it very easy for me to be making what I'm making and to be speaking the way I'm speaking or saying whatever I want. I am lucky to be in a place where I don't think too much about what is the right kind of work, what will be appreciated or what I just make.
No, it's beautiful, and so it's just never. That's always just been the way that you.
Yeah, and definitely, I think that was the way I was, and I had to sort of get myself back to that place post art college.
Okay, I see. So maybe you had a little moment in art college where you were, you kind of forced into thinking about.
Yes, and the work I made right out of art college was awful. It was exactly that. It was a year of making large, laborious, horrible oil paintings.
That's so funny.
Really horrible oil paintings, and trying to sort of
I'm curious.
I buried them all. I burnt them all. Every year I go back and I'm looking for them to trash them, to burn them.
No, they're important. They're a moment. They're a reminder.
Anyway, so although I was trying to express. I was true to myself in the sense that I was still trying to express what I was seeing around me. There was this desire for it to mean something and go somewhere. And I think when you have that desire or sometimes desperation for it to do something, it's not going to work. At least that's the feeling I get.
No, I think you're right about that.
You can't force it. You have to go more with your instincts of how you want to make something instead of, okay, if I do this, then this will happen.
Yeah, that never really seems to work.
Exactly.
So since you saying that you don't really think about the viewer, this might be a little bit harder to answer, but what do you think, you've shown, you have a mural, you've shown in Vancouver, shown internationally. So people obviously really love your work, I love your work, but what do you think draws people to your work?
When you come together with a bunch of people, the things that maybe I think you two would feel this way, the people we're drawn to are the people who are being true to themselves. It doesn't matter what they're like. For me, at least, it doesn't matter what they're like. I mean, obviously,
if you're
that
a horrible person, that might not work.
That might not work. But what I mean is, generally, you know, they might be really extroverted, they might be really introverted, they might be really loud, they might be really funny. But whatever they are, if they're true to themselves, like you get that feeling when you come across somebody who's being really, really genuine and who's not. And I think that's the thing with when you're sort of communicating through your work, even if you're not immediately communicating with it, like you're just sort of, you know, with me, like I said, I don't think about how it's going to communicate with people initially, but you are sort of communicating with those mediums, right?
Yeah.
So I think the truer I am with those communications, the more somebody will be drawn to it. Mm-hmm. There is some form of truth that's coming out. You know, what I genuinely think about the word, what I genuinely think about myself is coming out in that work. And I think that is what hopefully draws people to the work. I think when you're thinking about all these other things that you should be doing through the work, that immediately shows that it's like fake or pretentious.
Yeah, so or like what's the word? Like a tactic, like you're like trying to, you know, that I think that's the word.
Exactly. Like it shows that this is like for some kind of gain.
Calculated is the word that I was looking for.
Calculated, exactly. Priorities was the word I was thinking
There you go.
You know, we all have different priorities. When we're in a public space with different people, there'll be different people we're drawn to, obviously. But the thing that I really am drawn to is, you know, people being themselves.
Yeah,
no matter how weird they are. The more they embrace themselves, the happier I get. The more excited by them I get. So I think with when I'm interacting with the mediums that I'm making the work with, that's what I try my best to do. You know.
So like I see it. I do agree with you. I think that is a really the honesty and the genuineness of your work comes through, and I guess also maybe like maybe the fact that you aren't thinking about the viewer while you're making it, and you're really just focusing on what's coming out, you know, and having that like come through you.
Yeah, because if I start thinking about viewers, I can't think, like, how do you think in your own brain and also think through other people? Because you don't even know what other people really think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
either.
What somebody else is thinking or what they're
That's why I ask people bunch of questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
We just never know what other people are thinking. So we can't make presumptions, right?
And also, like, I mean, it's hard. I mean, art is so subjective at the end of the day, so it's hard to be able to guess what's going to be received and how it's going to be received. So sometimes the work that you like the least is the one that's most liked, or the like.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things like that always happen.
And no point calculating. Yeah. For me, I'm like, why did I? The only reason I committed my whole life to this was not to get anywhere. I could have gone into some other, like I could have become a doctor.
Yeah.
Although I really couldn't. But I could have become
theoretically.
I could have become a doctor who just sort of, you know, keeps, you know, then getting further and further in their career as they work.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, you know, if I wanted to do it for the money, I should have become an accountant or something. I don't even know. Solely about what gives me joy.
Yeah.
So if it's solely about what gives me joy, then it doesn't make sense to be making things for other people.
It doesn't. No. That's so. I always get. I've had a few people give obviously not exactly the same response, but saying like, you know, I'm doing this because I love it and I need to be doing it. And I always get so excited when I hear people saying that, because I'm like, oh, I picked the right person to interview. Because it means, you know, like it's something, it's a need.
It's a huge desire and need for me to be making, and I realize it every challenge I go through, I realize how much.
Yeah.
You know, when I made that awful work I made after college,
I
and
was like, what are you talking about? Which one?
back after college, I did I got myself a studio, and I worked outside of my house. That's the only time I worked outside of my house. I did the Bath residency, and I made that work, and it was awful. And I went to my advisor at art college to show her the work and ask her what she thinks, and she said, "You've regressed since college."
Oh wow! That must have been such a reality check.
It was so she said, where are the expressions and the body language of characters and people in your paintings? I don't see them anymore. Those were your strengths. And she pointed this out, and I went home and I said, I'm never going to paint again. But 3 days later I was painting again, because I need to. So that showed me this is not something I can just sort of let go of. And then was same through my children's births. Both the times I had my babies, the first year was impossible to work. There was too much breastfeeding to be done. And I just couldn't manage. So it had to be like the most important things needed to be done, and with work as well. The things that couldn't go without my hand in them had to be done. But the leisurely time I take in the studio to make work, I didn't have time for that, and I had such a hard time through both those periods. Like, it was very, very stressful to not be putting my thoughts down.
Especially at such a hyper emotional
when I needed it the most. In fact, I think that's why I started a log for my daughter. It's called the Marzo log, and I think that's why that happened, because I desperately needed to spend time in the studio, and because I couldn't, then I started doing these quick drawings of her, and it's after 5 years it's still going. I still do it's not always drawings, it's writing as well. I often think writing is a bit like drawing, so
I agree.
It's still going. I write little thoughts, things that she says through the day now in those notebooks. So that way you find a way, but it's hard when you can't spend some alone time
in
the studio figuring things out.
For sure, being a mom and creating art must be a real balancing act, I guess.
Especially during the first year, because at least both my kids needed me far more than they needed anybody else around them.
Yeah, that's the reality of it.
At one point, my husband was ready to pretend to breastfeed my daughter. Stick like a bottle there to feed her, but she didn't take anything.
No, she was like, "You're not my mom.
You're not my mom." Exactly.
I know what you're doing. Kids are just not every time, but most of the time, I feel like babies are just like attached to their mother. At the first 3 years, I'd say. Right?
But with me, thankfully, first year, and they love their dad just as much after, or they're happy to spend time with him, just as much time with him after. But because I don't know if I'll be able to survive.
Yeah, well, it's like it's physically you have like an attached, like you have an I was saying this to my partner the other day. We were just talking about having kids. Well, in the far future for me, but far future. But it's like it's beautiful, but it's also like this kind of the sacrifice of your autonomy, because you have this thing attached to you, like this thing, a beautiful child attached to you for.
It's very hard to then do that balancing act, because you do know that they're going to grow up really fast, especially with the second one. So you want to, but I don't do too well if I don't get at least some time in the studio.
Yeah, you have to have your own mind. Speaking of kids, you were a child once.
I sure was.
I kind of want to talk about your past and kind of what brought you here, and the best way to start is your childhood. So do you think that there was anything in your childhood that I think you touched a little bit on it about the children's books, but other than that, or you can expand more on that, do you think there was something that, if you hadn't been exposed to that, you don't think you've been an artist, or really inspired you, or like a moment or in your childhood that really brought that for you?
That's also a good question. I don't think there could have been anything that would have stopped me from being an artist. Yeah, I don't think there would have been anything, unless like I wouldn't have found a pencil and a paper ever because my parents used to just give us my mom used to always have a notepad in her bag
Did she do art as well?
No, she didn't, but she just loved the idea. And we didn't have phones that you could give to a kid to get them to, I don't know.
There was no iPads, there was art pad.
Exactly, which I do now as well. I keep some papers and pen in my bag just in case they want it, because I think it's great for kids just spend their time doodling. So I remember being given papers by my adults everywhere I went, pens and papers to just draw, and I pretend to write and draw, etc. So that way they were quite encouraging. My mom was very particular about not wasting money or spending on extravagances, but she would always get me these really cool like crayon boxes with all these special attachments, and I always had a box of crayons, and the fanciest one she would get me, although she was not into any kind of like, I don't remember my mom ever buying me a birthday present.
Really?
I don't remember. Yeah, she's
but she kind of had an inkling. She was like, she's probably gonna do some pretty good things with art. Might as well invest in this.
But she would definitely provide me with all the sketchbooks and the drawing material I needed. One thing I keep thinking about that might have also, like, I remember something that sort of maybe seeps through and even comes through my work now. When I was little, I'd have really terrible nightmares. I hated sleeping. Yeah, I hated nighttime. I hated having to go to sleep.
Interesting.
Because I'd have lots of nightmares, and at some point I remember coming to terms with these nightmares. I don't know if somebody suggested it or if I just came up with it at some point. But if I turn these nightmares, if I turn their endings into something funny, they weren't nightmares anymore in the morning.
This is actually a psychological thing.
Really?
Yeah. Well, did you do this in your head, or did you do this like on paper?
So it started with my head, this, and then I do that with my drawings and stuff as well. Turn something that maybe horrifies me into something light, funny, beautiful, whatever. And I feel like I do that still.
Do you still have nightmares, or?
Nightmares, not so much, but once you become an adult and you become aware of what's happening in the world, you're like, oh,
you don't need nightmares in your head.
You're like, oh my god, this is a nightmare happening right here on this part, in this part of the world, or that part of the world.
Yeah. So that's an actual, I mean, I was listening, this is so off topic, but I was listening to this podcast and they're talking about sleep and like insomnia or whatever. And they were like, like this one psychologist like started doing this experiment where you would have to like change the ending of the dream and like write it down before bed, and then that would stop people from having like horrible dreams every night.
I had no idea.
Wow. So you did that all on your own.
I remember when I was around 9 or 10. They used to be horrible. Now when I think about them in retrospect,
they're funny.
They're sort of funny. But as a kid, they used to really frighten me.
Were they like night terrors? Like were those physical or?
No, they were just like waking up in the morning and being really like frightened. What did I just see? And thinking that this room or this space has some kind of an energy that because of the nightmare I've associated with that particular room in the house or whatever. So yeah, I mean. That then started, I think that still, like I said, that still happens in my work where I'm, sort of trying to come to terms with something that's happening either with me or around me and making it funny or weird or quirky, or maybe quirky is not the right word, but like something funny or really beautiful. Sometimes something really you sort of make something really dark very beautiful. That can also change the
recontextualize
narrative,
it.
Recontextualize it, exactly.
So talking about your past or childhood, I always think it's fun to think about what jobs artists have worked. So what jobs have you worked? And they can be art ones, they can like not be art ones, or
yeah. So
like,
so
really all like when general.
whatever. Yeah, whatever. When I was done with school, my art teacher suggested I go to, was it school or art college? I'm trying to remember now.
Did you do high school?
It
like
was
an
school,
art
yeah.
school?
So no, our school is basically regular high school. It's a British system though. Yeah, so finished school, and my art teacher suggested I do some, because my art college, which isn't I guess, which I'm not sure. My art college started. My school ended in July, and then my art college wouldn't start till January. So that's kind
of nice.
Yeah, their year used to start from January to December, which was the way our school also used to run on that year. It used to be January to December.
I like that better.
They changed it, and then they changed it to June to June, whatever. So because NCS started in January, in that period, my teacher suggested I do some illustration for this NGO.
Oh, cool.
And there were Women's Rehabilitation Center, and they were making these really wonderful children's books.
Wow.
So I went to them and Seymour, and I worked for them for a little bit. I think I did 2 or 3 books with them, which was it was wonderful. So not 2 or 3 books, but like 2 or 3 stories in those books.
Yeah.
And that I've always cherished, because I was right out of school.
Out of high school.
Out of high school, which was exciting. Doing something like that. And then after that, I got busy with college, and college was a whole world in itself.
Your job was being a student?
My job was being a student, and to be honest, it's really screwed up actually. In Pakistan, not many students, there isn't that, what's it called? Culture of young people working.
It's the same. Well, it's changing now, but it was the same thing in Italy.
Right? Like, children stay with their parents for as long as they possibly can, and depend on their parents for as long as they possibly can, and then they, and also very, very unfortunately, there's a huge class differences there. So I think a lot of the times the jobs that young people should be doing are being done by people who need them more. That's a whole other screwed up thing. But then after that, I wanted to travel a little, and I traveled to England with that side of the world with my family. I was born there, so my parents would and we had relatives there, so my parents would take us there once in a while. But I hadn't seen much more of. I traveled with family to some of Europe as well. It had really like excited me. So then after art college, I actually during art college, I'm actually probably a little bit of an anomaly. I don't know, but I did the illustration, and then a friend got me involved in a children's art show. So in my last year in college, I did that as well, actually.
That's beautiful.
I was trying to remember where I got the money to travel. And that's when I made some money. And I used that to go to travel, because my cousin lives in London, who I still visit all the time. And we got together. As in, I just went and stayed with her. And from there, while I was in London, I spent the summer there. And then, did I travel then? I'm not sure.
And you traveled to like London and Europe?
So I went, the first time I stayed in London. I wanted to see if I could live there. And I stayed with my cousin. And when my money started dwindling, I got a job there. I got a job at Harrods.
What's Harrods?
Harrods is like this, you know how you have the Bay?
This
department store. It's a really fancy department store.
Bougie department.
Very bougie department store, yes, exactly. I worked there for a bit. and I continued living in London to see how I felt. And when
Did
it
you have a
got colder
passport?
and colder,
Oh.
because I was born there, so I had a passport.
Yeah.
And my cousin lived there,
Yeah,
so she
yeah.
was like, okay. So
But it was getting colder.
when in November, when it got really cold, I said, okay, bye.
Yeah.
I think I'll be going back now. But then I continued going because I got that independence was exciting, you know? Staying there with my cousin didn't really care about what I was doing. She warned me. She said, you can do whatever you want, you can bring guys home, you can party, you can drink, but don't get a tattoo. That was it. That's the only thing I got, by the way.
That's the only thing you actually did. You were like, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Exactly what I'll do.
That's what I want.
Exactly. So yeah, then after that, whenever I'd go, I'd pick a city and either go with a friend or... So I got to do I went to different places. Like it was during that time I did so I'd get a job, I'd work a bit, and then I worked at a charity shop at Harrods, these kind of things. And then I traveled a bit. I went to Sweden.
Oh, that's cool.
I went to Rome with my mom and sister.
Nice.
I loved it. And I went to Spain with them as well at some point. So those were fun. Amsterdam.
Oh, beautiful. That must have been amazing. So you worked like a few like retail jobs.
Retail jobs, yes.
How do you think that okay, so obviously the art ones, like the illustration job, those definitely probably
fulfilling.
Yeah. But like the ones that I always like to ask this, but the ones that were not like art related at all.
Yeah.
How do you think those impacted your creativity? How do you think those impacted your career? Like, do you think those had any impact at all? In some way?
I don't know if they've impacted my creativity. I think they only made it clearer to me that
that's everyone's answer.
I desperately want to cling to creativity.
Yeah.
They made it very clear to me that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But it was an interesting experience because your priorities become clearer. I think that way it's a good experience for you to have. It did make me realize I was very good with people.
That's
My people skills aren't bad in
Yeah.
the sense that I was able to convince women to buy things that I really
Didn't like.
need
You're
or
like,
like.
I don't like this, but you'll love it. You'll really love
It
it.
looks great on you.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think that's the tricky thing, I think, and not so good thing in retail and all of this stuff, this buying and selling consumerist world, that I didn't, I actually believed what I was saying to them, because I can find what is, I can find some kind of good in everybody, you know, what looks good or what they can make work. But none of us need all this extra stuff in our lives. So that was something that made me think, oh yeah, this can go in both directions. It could be made good use of, or it could just make me lots of money and could make people buy things that they don't really need.
Yeah.
So those kind of things become clearer in your head, right?
Yeah.
Like I really don't. I feel like we really all need to work against this consumerist way of being. And I think artists are already on that bus, but
a lot of them,
a lot of them are on that. Yeah, not all, obviously. But I wish like people would see what a horrible thing it is.
To be like so consumerist.
Yeah, to be just, it's like, it's become like a huge trap for us all.
Yeah.
We're just trapped by it.
I might cut this out because it doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I'm just curious for my own curiosity. Did you see because I kind of had this growing up in Italy and coming here, especially in the West, was it a little bit of a shock, from Pakistan? I don't know what it's like, their consumerism is like there, to come somewhere like here that it's like Costco and a huge mall with all this stuff, because they're starting to have that now in Italy, but just not at this, or it wasn't at the same rate when I was younger.
Nowhere on earth is like North America.
Yeah.
You won't find.
And for me, it was just going to Costco still, I get really freaked out.
Yeah, Abid and I tried once we had kids.
Yeah.
We should, maybe we should go to Costco, and we can't do it. We've been there twice, and it's frightening, and it's just overwhelming.
I just get so and again, this is so off topic, but I'm ranting. But
That's fine.
I'll go in and I'll be like, there is so much stuff. There's no way that this all gets bought.
No. And then where does it go?
That's what I get. Like,
you get palpitations. Yeah. Yeah, you get palpitations thinking about that. Like, even like us as a family now, we're a whole family, and we eat and we drink, and then there's recycling, and then there's trash, and you're like, oh my God, where is all of this going? And you and that. All that should do is just make you more conscious of not, just buying and then throwing.
Yeah, I'm really
especially with, like with our, if food is hard to sort of like, you can't not eat.
Yeah, of course. But like, you can like, it's just decomposable. You can do something with it.
You can keep trying to not buy single-use plastics and all of this stuff, and shopping bags are already putting a thing on it, but like be conscious of what you're buying and remembering that this thing is going to exist forever. So it is pretty messed up, and the power they're yielding over us through all of that.
I get very, once I kind of had like, again we'll get back to this, but once I had I just kind of felt like I had a mental switch, and I was like, oh. Yeah. And then I just went downtown one day. I was like, always, like, it was always in the back of my head, like, oh my God, consumerism, there's like so much stuff, where is it going? Like, and I always kind of had like anxiety around it. But then one day, like, I had like a switch, and I feel like it's kind of like what's that movie again? The Matrix. I took like the other pill, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I like went down Robson or something, and there was like all these shops, and I was like,
there's
so much.
Yeah.
And you go to every store and they all have the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, but why do we need so
much?
Yeah.
My mom's side of the family, they're quite socialist, because my grandfather was. He was like full on. He fought against the fascists in Spain. He was studying medicine in England, so he was a part of all these socialist groups. Like he hung out with what's his name, George Orwell. So like his life was very
grand,
crazy.
Yeah.
Like very far removed from most of the people that Pakistan. Most people are not that. They don't have such wild past. But my grandfather was the odd one out that way. I think he was just a weirdo and just followed his heart. But he was very much like it's at my age, I know, these things, where they're coming from, or what the context is, and what socialism means, and all of that. Still don't really know, but I never realized that that's what was getting seeped through just because of how he'd lived. He lived a certain way. He asked, for example, like I said, there's a lot of class difference in Pakistan. But he'd have his help sit with him at the dining table and eat, and didn't have that, upstairs, downstairs type of thing. And because he did all of this, his children also were aware of it. And then my grandmother, when she passed away, she didn't have anything in her cupboard. She didn't want anybody to be burdened by things, so she had very few things, and then her children could like get rid of them in seconds.
Yeah.
Most people have so much they've gathered over their lives.
Yeah.
There's like a whole yard sales.
I know. And then the kids don't know what to do with it.
And then who cares, right? Like they're just things at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, 100%. This is funny to talk about it after we just talked about consumerism. But I think this is always important to, like I said, I've said this before, but this is an educational podcast, so I kind of want people to have like a reality check on like things that take you somewhere, to be able to like have the art career in the way that you want, and how people reached it. But did you have like help when you were like in college and stuff to like get to a place where you are able to create, like financially? Did you have like support, or did you have to do that all on your own, and how did it work for you, and how do you think that impacted your opportunities?
I've actually been very privileged in the sense that my parents never expected me to make my own way. They took care of my education, art education, And then I was aware myself. I liked the idea of being independent, you know? So I didn't want to burden my father because he was already financially burdened, you know? My family was the sort of family where there was money sometimes and there wasn't money sometimes. Because my father was a self-employed business, was a self-employed businessman. So sometimes his what do you call them? His commissions would come through. Sometimes they wouldn't. So because I knew that kind of we were that kind of an income household. Household, yeah. I tried my best to make sure that to sustain myself and to sustain my work, you know, buying material and stuff, I had something going, like, you know, try to do shows, try to sell work, that way. So I tried my best, but I had a support in the sense that I didn't have to move out of my parents' house, so I didn't have to think about rent. I didn't have to think about food. I was very well taken care of. I didn't have to do any of that. But I think being conscious of, you know, at least in the beginning, being able to buy your own stuff by, you know, selling your work or doing a little bit of a side job is very good. I think that's the best way you can sort of get through. But yeah, I don't know how anybody does it in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Like, how do they, whatever the materials they need to buy, but like paying rent after you've left college or whatever.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why people are ending up in their parents' house, right?
Yeah.
Or continually living with them.
Yeah, it's like a reverting, because that's kind of like an old way of doing it, where kids used to stay at their parents' house for a very long time. It wasn't until like more like contemporary times where people started like moving out right after college, young, right? And I think people are kind of starting to revert back because a lot of people can't afford it in the city, at least. Yeah. So how often did you, you know, we're talking about opportunities and putting yourself out there and having that support you. How often did you reach out? How often do you reach out now? And how often do you get asked for opportunities? And how has that kind of like changed through your career?
Yeah. So it's probably quite strange in the sense that I went to art college in Pakistan, and that's one of the main art colleges, the most well-known art college in Pakistan. We have a few others now, but that's like one of the older, more popular ones. And when we obviously like it probably is at Emily Carr, when we have our final year project up, the show up, there'll be gallery owners and, you know, curators who come to see the show. And this one of the gallery owners in Karachi, which is because I'm in Lahore, Karachi is way south, but Karachi is more of a, I feel like a more fast-paced hub. It's a bigger city, like more happening city. This gallery owner from there came to see the show and she liked it, and she bought 2 paintings. So I had that link, you know. So back at home, obviously, like for example, when you go to an art college here, you automatically find these links, these connections, you know. And you're able to keep in touch with them, send them your portfolio or the new work you've done and see how they say. In Pakistan, I didn't have to do much to find my way. But then also, I never found a community outside of my art college. The thing is, with art college, you have a lot of people coming from very different cities, and they then go back or go elsewhere. Not that many people remain in Lahore afterwards. So I didn't have a lot of friends who remained back. Very few did. So I lost that community. And then there's also still that tradition of, you know, graduating, getting married, having kids. So a lot of the friends who were in my class ended up getting busy very quickly with other things. So community I didn't really find, or like-minded people post-college. And then I moved here. Here I found a wonderful community of like-minded artists. Not competitive, not, there isn't that, there's trust and there's excitement for each other's work and a proper community, which I really love. Here, I was very lucky to find this art mastermind that was started, I think, in 2015 or 16, and I found them quite soon after they started. It went by the name Thrive Art Studio. Two friends started it, and now I think it's changed, but their business model has also changed. But it was really lovely because it was very Vancouver centric in the sense that artists from here would gather monthly to talk about their work, to exchange resources, and so on and so forth. It's a wonderful project.
Yeah.
And it was a business model as well, because we paid a monthly charge, and that in itself was like a commitment,
Yeah.
Art money is very important for artists. Like no artists have any money ever.
Yeah.
Or a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
Especially in Vancouver. So committing to that meant that we were definitely going to show up and then talking about, whatever is important to us. And I found my community through them. I found an art consultant through them.
Oh, wow.
Because everybody shared information about, whatever they whatever had been useful to them. An art consultant, Penny Lane.
Oh, I know Penny Lane.
She's so wonderful. The one thing that I really love doing with my work is talking about it. I want somebody to look at it and tell me what they think.
Yeah.
What they're seeing in it. And so she was wonderful for that. And she has given me opportunities after that. She did the Vancouver Mural Festival.
Oh, I see, yeah.
She curated it and she chose me, who had never ever done a mural before. Which was
beautiful.
Thank you. But it was such a, I'm forever grateful to her for all these opportunities she gave me in the beginning, because those are the opportunities that brought more people see your work.
Course,
and then they, more people. And it can't just be, for me at least, it can't just be on Instagram. I'm not that social media savvy as much as I find it easier, by the way, than actually being out there constantly.
Yeah.
Especially with now that I have kids, but kids are more of an excuse because I like being in my studio. I don't like leaving my home.
Yeah.
And I never have liked leaving my home. So it's easy for me to, put stuff up on Instagram. Instagram was very useful for me, actually. Instagram is what led me to Thrive. That's how I found them.
Interesting.
And I was very resistant to using social media or putting myself out there publicly, and that's why you have the name Mindforking. Sara Khan is a very common name, so I needed to have something else, but Mindforking was also because initially I wanted to do it through a pseudonym. I didn't want people to know who I was, because I wasn't sure I wanted to be there. But that turned out to be quite useful for me, because people have found me through it. People, especially outside of this city, have found me through it. So Instagram's been very useful. Thrive was incredible, and Penny Lane. I met Daniel Chrissa through it, which is a jealous curator. So all of these things then happened, and through those I had more opportunities. Like I had a show through an Instagram connection at South Main Art Gallery, which is a dining gallery in Mount Pleasant. And then somebody saw my work there, so they gave me a show at Surrey Art Gallery, and somebody so that kind of thing. So my thing is that I make a lot of work. I'm constantly making work. Now it's harder because I have kids, so I have a limited amount of time. But at one point, I used to work all day. I would go to his work, and I would start from morning to evening. I'd just be painting whatever I wanted to, or playing, or So I think that's the main thing. The more you make, the more you understand your own self and your practice, and I've also realized that I really like practicing anything. I love practicing what I like, art practice, how they call it that. I think, it is a practice because it's the process that is
You're
fun.
constantly learning new things, right?
But I can do the same thing again and again and again to make it, I don't know, for some reason it's comforting to me to make it better and better, to understand that one particular thing better and better. So I think that's where it's at, but I don't know if I ever did very many cold calls or emails to places.
Like applications and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think. I think my first show was an application based one. This was Deer Lake Art Gallery.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Deer Lake Art Gallery. That was application based. I sent paintings to that, but since then it's just sort of happened. And then another thing that is incredible useful thing here is grants, which I've been I'm very new to.
Do you this is just honestly for my own question.
But
do you do more like Vancouver grants or Canada grants?
So BC grants are a thing, and then there's Canada grants, and then there's private grants. People who set up, they have a fund and they decide to support artists. Green Shields. Green Shields is one of them. I'm not saying the name correctly.
That's okay. I can put the send it to me.
And it's incredible. They're so wonderful. They have a very specific form that you have to fill, telling them everything you want to do, and then they, if they decide that you deserve it, they'll give you a wonderful grant. And all they ask of you is that you report back. Which is also sort of like, it's fun because then you get to sort of go over the year and see what all you achieved. And then they expect you to sort of mention them in your website or, wherever you post things. Elizabeth Green Shields.
Okay, Elizabeth's called, link it down.
Elizabeth Green Shields is incredible. That's the first one I applied for. And I got last year. And then I'm looking into other grants now. There's BC grants.
So you'd say like the opportunities that you got, a lot of it was more through making connections that you then got opportunities, and then like minimal of you actually like going out and like applying to specific things. It was more like connections, meeting people. It is always that, isn't it?
I find the whole idea of networking really crummy. I always found it like, the idea of going out to meet people to get something out of them is like really gross. But it doesn't have to be like that. Like if you're interested in people, which most of us are, then it's nice to just connect with people to see, especially in an art community, to see how you guys connect, how you communicate. Sandeep I found through Thrive as well. Now we've been friends for years, although it feels like 100 years. But I think Sandeep, my relationship with her has given me incredible things, like incredible growth. I've learned so much from her. And she's been a huge support. She's always like, whatever opportunity she's gotten, she's
relayed it back to you.
She's just gotten them to push me into it.
Lovely.
The show as well, she had been offered a show at Evergreen, and she was like, I want to do it with, Sara.
Wow. But people like that in like the art community that kind of like watch over you or like support other artists. Those are the best.
The people around me have been very, very generous. I've been very lucky that way.
Speaking kind of opportunities and all that, what do you think is a successful artist? This is a trick question, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'm at this point for the past few years been quite clear about what a successful artist or what it means. What success means to me. That priority is the word I couldn't remember. It depends on your priorities, right? For me, as much as I want a plethora of things to come through my art, a successful art, success means working till like I'm just halfway into my grave. As long as I'm making and painting and discovering new stuff, which yes, I don't even know if I don't think I have enough life to discover everything I want to discover. I was saying to my husband yesterday, I can't believe January is already gone, and there's so much in my head I want to like do and try and make, and so one life is not enough for it. But as long as I'm doing it till 98. Just
very specific age. 98.
Just about to jump into my grave. I'll be very happy. In fact, you know, maybe you guys can throw like a sketch pad.
You can keep on going.
Yeah, so that's definitely
success.
A success. I don't think there's any validation from the outside world. I'm always trying to create visuals that are sort of inviting and maybe sometimes stunning, maybe sometimes comforting, but then also unsettling, because I feel that is our planet.
I agree.
Our world, and I like the idea of showing what I see. And I would love to nail that, because every little while I make a painting and I'm like, I did it. You know? And then some time passes and I'm obviously, you know, you're over it and you want to do something else, whatever else is in your head, swimming around in your head. So for me, that chase is also exciting. That challenge of, you know, okay, what do I make next that's going to really shake me? You know, when you're sitting there and looking at your work and you're like, I did it. It's an incredible feeling. And it doesn't happen all the time. It's very rare.
And
it
like
passes
the moment.
too. It's a moment.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like for a moment you're like, this is the best thing I've ever made. And then 2 months later you'll look at it and you'll be like,
really?
I don't really know if that's the best thing I've ever made.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 3 years later you're like, that was actually such a good thing that I made. Yeah, it's so funny.
It's feelings, right? Feelings just sort of go through you. I was listening to a podcast and somebody was talking about, I think it was, I can't remember now, but it was about, you know how we look at senses as the five senses, like, you know, smell, taste, what is it? Touch, hearing, seeing, right?
Yeah.
And she said something to the effect that feelings are the same.
Yeah.
You know, when you touch something and you remove your hand, that it passes, right? It's you have to remember as feelings being the same way.
Yeah.
So as exciting as it is to feel something, you know,
it's gonna go away.
It's gonna go away, and both ways, you know. Something if you felt something really, really dark and depressing, that's also a good reminder that it's just gonna go through you.
Yeah. So to you, success is kind of like chasing that and being able to find that in times and moments.
Those moments are really exciting.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love showing my work, because then I get to have a larger discussion, having a tiny discussion with my work, you know, in my studio. And then once you put it out there in the world, it just, people take different, that's the thing with visual art. People make different stories up from different, you know, from the different things they see in your work. And then the narrative becomes larger and the discourse becomes larger. And I love being a part of that.
Yeah.
I enjoy, I get excited by what other people see in the work. And that further takes me, you know, takes me further into that narrative.
Yeah.
And discover more things about myself and the world that I'm living in, the people I'm communicating with, or the people who are sharing, you know, the same space, or living the same life or a similar life. So all of these things are really interesting to me, and I get very excited by somebody wants to show the work in a gallery. But the most important thing is what you just said. The most important thing is being just as excited by the work inside my studio, you know, in my head while I work.
Yeah, oh, I really agree with that. But so we kind of talked about what brought you here, kind of how you feel about it, but now just talk a little bit about the actual rituals and routine around it. First question with that is, do you have a sketchbook? Which I'm assuming you do.
Yes, I love sketchbooks. I think I've always loved the idea of journaling, and I say the idea of journaling because when I was younger I really wasn't consistent with it. I liked the idea more than the actual journaling. I probably liked sticking things in there, like scrapbooking and that kind of thing, which is also a part of it. But as my practices becomes more solid, I realized I love drawing, I love sketchbooking. So at some point I was just doing it without thinking about it, but in more recent years I realized, you know, like I have a huge stack of sketchbooks.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I love them, I love writing them, I love drawing in them. I have notebooks where I just jot down notes and have this otherwise the sketchbooks were finishing way too quickly.
Yeah.
Because I'd scribble in them too much. And then now my kids take my sketchbooks and start drawing in them, and then I'm even more frustrated because they finish even quicker. But yeah, I love drawing, so I do love sketchbooks. I'll draw from observation. I'll draw whatever's in my head, and that is actually that's why I always have something new to paint.
Yeah, because it comes from sketchbooks. Yeah, so kind of like linked with sketchbooks, I think, is the studio. So what balance do you find? Obviously you have a home studio, so it must be very specific to you, but what balance do you find between studio life and non-studio life?
I used to have zero balance before I had my kids. There was no balance. I always wanted to be in the studio, especially because once I moved here from Pakistan, Lahore is a very social place, so everybody just drop into each other's houses, and that's another thing that I've always loved, other than time in the studio for painting. I've always enjoyed sitting with like-minded people, like family, friends, and blabbering away. I love, you know, talking with, and you know, just like we call it gup shup, just chatting with friends and blabbering about useful things, useless things, whatever. So I was always distracted by that. And then when I moved here, this was all like studio, other than like obviously Abid and I were getting to know each other more, but I realized how much I loved spending time doing this, you know, how distracted I was back in Lahore, and now I can really focus. So now though, after having kids, initially I was I'd fight myself on this and get frustrated that I didn't have enough time in the studio. But after Marzia's first year, I realized, oh my god, this passes way too quickly. So now I'm not too bothered I'm not too bothered about how much time I have. As long as I get about an hour every single day, I'm happy with it. Sometimes I get a little more. Sometimes, you know, Abid and I've chilled out after the kids have gone to bed, watched something, eaten some dessert or something, and then I'll come back into the studio. That really does screws with my sleep though, and I love sleeping. But it's fine when I really
in focus.
When I'm really called to it, I'll just come and, you know, draw later at night. But I do, once Abid's done all work, I do get like that hour. He's paying the bills, so his work has to come first. And I don't want to take over this task of paying bills, because then it really
changes everything.
Sucks the life out of you. I've tried doing it in the past, and it's harder for you to make. It's very hard for me to make without pressure. I'm not one of those people who can work well under pressure. Like because I just did a 2-person show I saw with Sandeep. The closer the deadline got, the more she
got like excited.
Yeah, and worked, to finish. But I'm not like that.
No.
I don't need a deadline. A deadline actually just makes me anxious. Because I'm just consistent and working. That's probably why I'm consistent working all the time. Anybody who wants to do a show, I'm like, okay,
I have a lot of work.
Yeah, I have lots of work.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of having to do it right before a show.
Yeah.
Especially with kids, because I don't want to miss out on anything
of
with
course.
them.
I can imagine.
I have huge FOMO when I'm sitting here and they're laughing, cackling downstairs with
Yeah.
rabbits. So if I need to,
Mm-hmm.
miss something with work, it should be okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like
Prioritizing.
and I don't want to make it difficult for a gallery either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So finding the right balance.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you have a studio in your home.
Yeah, then I can easily
Yeah.
go back and forth.
And then outside of the studio, what do you do, or what do you think in your life brings inspiration to your work? I guess you maybe kind of touched on it a little bit, but yeah, outside of actually making art and creating things, what inspires you?
Oh, so many
Or where do you
things.
find inspiration?
Yeah, everything. I feel like everything. I feel like more than other artists' work or paintings, I find that, just taking the kids down for a walk and
Yeah.
just, seeing
Okay.
the colors around. Fall is always so exciting in Vancouver, just taking a walk and seeing all those orange leaves and blue skies. It's really stunning. They're really like
It is really
otherworldly.
beautiful.
Going up into the mountains into the snow, you feel like you're on some other planet. But then also like discussions with friends and my husband or my mother, or books. I love fiction. I'm a sucker for fiction, and I'll jot down quotes from them.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably like, I know I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I think fiction is far more important than fact. People
it is important.
People are pretending to write down facts, but that's also, there's some bias there always. Like, they're bringing in their own biases and their own perspectives into it. So I'm very drawn to fiction. There's so many authors I really, really love, and sometimes there'll be go-tos. Sometimes I'll find somebody, random through somebody I refer to. But yeah, I have this hang-up of not being educated enough because I went to art school.
I get that. I relate to that.
And I never read when my mother told me to read when we were kids. I only wanted to draw. So now I'm very, 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 very thoughtful about what I read. And I will do my research and read something that is maybe, somehow will educate me. Finally.
And then that inspires you, yeah.
And that inspires me,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about your practice. Now I just kind of wanted to briefly touch on the business side of things. Like Galley World.
Which I'm not very good at.
Well, I mean, I think that's also why it's so important to speak about it, because it's so daunting, like speaking about galleries and how that works, especially if you're a young artist, like trying to like get into it. It's daunting. You don't really understand where your place is and how to force them up for and it's
100%.
hard. So I love
100%.
asking those questions.
Yeah.
But what has your experience been navigating gallery relationships?
Okay, so the thing with me is that I have never really worked with a commercial gallery. That's where the money comes in. I've worked with public galleries so far, and with them it's a very simple, straightforward process. You get to show them and they pay you a carfax fee. Canada is pretty good that way with that kind of support. The public galleries are, at least in Vancouver, are wonderful and very supportive. I worked with a public gallery in Toronto, and they were also really caring. They take care of the work. Their curation is often quite good. And then they'll, especially with group shows, they're very thoughtful because, they want the public to get something from it, be interested in what they're showing. So that way, it's been a pretty good experience. The thing with getting into the public art gallery world, I don't know how that happens. So I mean, for me,
it's been opportunities.
For me, it was the application to the Deer Lake Art Gallery. I applied to that and I got in, and all of them have these kind of. So I think those are quite useful. These open calls for emerging artists. It was the same, and then it was Seymour Art Gallery. I also did the same thing. I guess. Yeah, I applied for the Seymour Art Gallery open call as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're all these public galleries. If you look into them, they all have open calls for emerging artists, and I think that's a good way to do it if you want to get into the public art gallery realm. When it comes to making money, doing community work like talks and workshops is great. Definitely. All of these galleries do workshops, community centers do workshops, which are really good. And then what was I just thinking of? Workshops and talks. Anyway, some other thing that came to my head but sort of slipped out. Workshops and talks, and then there's also your own, like a lot of people use Instagram to sell their work. I don't like putting my work online like that, but that's a very personal preference, and that's more to do with I don't want the work to be seen as an object, in the sense that there's another word for it, like I don't want it to be seen as they're not like that in the sense they're
you want it to be more of a personal thing rather than just be like, oh, let's match this to my carpet.
Yeah, exactly.
Decorative.
Objectified. I don't want it to be objectified. I don't want it to be decorative only. I'm not averse to beauty, and I'm not averse to objects in a home. I love that people are able to, especially my smaller paintings, I often put them in my mailing list, and I love that people like me can buy those and put them in their house. I love that. But when I'm creating a larger body of work, I'm trying to figure out a narrative. Like I told you, I love fiction, I love storytelling, so there's a whole idea behind how I want to present it. But I don't like that. It's that aversion to consumerism. Putting it up there, buy it, that kind of thing. It just it's that word we've used a couple of times before.
Priorities?
Priorities, but context.
Okay, yes.
Where you put something will frame it as well, where you put the work will frame it as well. So public projects are amazing, and community work is amazing, and then through Instagram, I think it's great to sell, but what I did for when back in the day when I wanted to join Thrive, and I had no money coming in at that point because I just moved here. I had not found any kind of art world here or a community. I found Thrive when I wanted to what's that word? Subscribe to Thrive. I needed money monthly. Abid was happy to support me monthly, but he was doing everything. I didn't want to burden him, so I wanted to do it myself. So initially when I spoke to the girls at Thrive, I remember Jamie suggested, start selling your small pieces. These are so cool. Why aren't you selling them? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, why not? People keep asking me on Instagram as well. So then I came up with this whole mailing list, have your own mailing list, send it to the people who are interested in the work, and then that way you can send it like make it a little more meaningful or thoughtful, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
When I do my mailing lists, I love that I get to reflect on my work, you know, or find a story within that body of work that I'm about to send to my mailing list. So I'll come up with a story and connect them. I get to self-reflect myself to then think about things that I've been working through or whatever. So that is one way of doing it, through Instagram or through a mailing list. It was really exciting for me because I'd never sort of thought of doing that, and when I did, it was that same idea that I can do this, you know.
Yeah.
I can sell my work and not feel dirty about it.
You can find a loophole.
You can find a loophole,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to support yourself, right?
Yeah,
You have to
for
find
sure.
a way. There's no way we can
No,
live
of
without
course.
working or selling.
And I guess you kind of spoke about social media, but I was wondering what you think art galleries think about social media.
They used to judge in the beginning when I when I started, that's why I was a little, I think, uncomfortable about putting myself on. It's that same thing of, you know, putting yourself out there, and galleries were very anti it once upon a time, probably that long ago, like 8-9 years ago. But now they know that there's no way out. It's a great asset. Now you see people who've done well for themselves on Instagram, galleries are reaching out to them, and they know that they'll benefit them because their reach is such, you know.
Yeah.
They're reaching a far larger audience, and these galleries want that audience, so they will, you know, benefit each other.
Yeah.
I think it's great because then it has opened up the space for all sorts of artists, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to find a gatekeeper, beg them to let you in.
Yeah.
Anybody can make their work and put it out there, and if it's good and it resonates with some gallery, they might, you know, reach them, because there is a gazillion galleries out there, and they all have different requirements, different things, different work they're interested in. Some galleries are very shop-like, you know. They're interested in buying and selling. Some galleries are more, you know, more thoughtful about how they approach a show or whatever. So those people will connect with those people.
Yeah. So do you think their a view on social media has kind of changed to a point where they're like, yeah, well, it's obviously people are obviously gonna be on social media, and at least it'll get a bigger reach. But it started off a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. The serious artists didn't put their work on Instagram.
Yeah. I think that's how. Yeah.
That was the feeling in the beginning.
But it's changing.
Yeah, they've had to.
Yeah.
They always have to catch up.
So we have the last few questions here now. The first last question is, why did you say yes to this interview?
You just came across really. You came across present.
Oh, I'm glad.
You came across present. I like I said to you also, I really enjoy talking about my work.
Yeah.
As you can probably see now, I really enjoy talking.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to hear.
I'm a bit of a blabberhead. I have to tell people who talk to me about my work to tell, podcasts and interviews and talks, I have to tell them beforehand. I should have told you as well.
No, it's beautiful hearing about your work.
No, but you know how, I talk a lot, so you have to
talk a lot too. So you're good.
I ramble. So you have to tell me to stop. But no, you came across really lovely. Your message was really lovely.
Oh, I'm glad.
I mean, a guy married me because of his message.
So the message is really getting you. Okay.
Messages have to be written well.
I'll keep that in mind. Okay.
Clearly, the messages have to be well written.
I'm glad I wrote a nice message. The next one is...
I think you interacted with me before as well.
Yeah, maybe you had... Well, I
think you shared photos of the Bath show.
Yeah, I did, for sure.
So I scrolled back and I saw that you'd interacted before. And I think it's just nicer when somebody has shown interest before. because with a lot of the spam stuff that comes through, it seems like they haven't done any research and they're just randomly sending the same message to everybody.
Yeah.
So
no,
that means something.
Yeah, I the one thing that I wanted with this project is I really wanted to hand pick every single artist. So like really honestly, like not saying that like there aren't the artists that I don't message aren't artists that I love or support, but the people that I decided to interview are people who I really, really like.
You really connect
and very interested. Like I really want to hear what you have to say, and like I feel a certain connection to your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how it should be, by the way, because then you're true to what you're doing. You know, you're true to your project.
Yeah, exactly. And if I had to ask people a bunch of questions and I'm like half interested in their work, or does it really interest me, or I don't feel connected to it, then it just the interview wouldn't go very well.
No.
And then, do you suggest this career?
I 100% do. Yeah, I think I genuinely believe that creativity of any sort is one of the most important things for us as humans. I think it's it has enormous healing qualities.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should get a chance to create. I know so many people in my family who would have really benefited from any kind of creativity, whether it's music, dancing, singing, painting, whatever. I think they would have really benefited. I think their life would have been far better if they had gotten that chance, because the previous generations didn't get that chance either, because they were just stuffed in these boxes. They should be doing this, that, and the other. Like my own dad, I think he would really, but that's like all sorts of making.
Writing,
all sorts of making.
Dance,
yeah. Some people are really creative bakers, and
for sure.
So anything. Dance, I think. Dance personally, I think has really great benefits.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me what I'd be if I wasn't an artist. I was like, whether the dance community accepted me or not, because I'm tall and awkward, I definitely would have been a dancer.
I would also love to dance,
right?
But I don't have much of that skill.
It's my limbs that just go everywhere.
Me too, honestly.
But yeah, creativity, I think, I always, and this is a bit weird because I have never played a sport in my life, but in retrospect, I feel like sports and creativity should be the main focus of schools.
Oh, I agree. 100%. It's moving your body and moving your mind, you know?
That's it.
No, I agree.
And I never listened to my parents, so my children will probably not listen to me when I tell them to play, although Abby was quite sporty, so
I don't know.
maybe.
I think it's lead by example. Your kids are going to see you make art and they're going to be like, huh, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Now I want to do that.
Art is still an easy thing to get kids into.
Yeah.
But I meant like sports.
Oh,
but their dad has always played lots of sports, so hopefully they'll get into it. Yeah. He can do that exempling.
And then what are 3 just like bullet points of qualities, 3 top qualities you think you need to be an artist?
3 top qualities. Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you.
For me, the biggest thing that I feel has always kept me constant and consistent is discipline. Maybe people don't associate that with creativity, but I think that's how your brain sort of keeps in it and keeps working on it. So discipline is a big one for me. Discipline, and then the desire and love for it. I think
you have to be born with that.
You have to be like really love it desperately to keep going, because there is, like I said, that I don't think validation ever comes from anything. Comes from anywhere other than
yourself.
That love and that love you have for it. So I'd say discipline, love, and what would be the third thing? Joy. If it brings you joy, I feel. I for me at least, that's what that's my compass, my inner compass. Is this bringing me joy? Okay, I'm on the right track. If this is bringing me joy, I'm on the right track. You know.
That's such a beautiful way to lead your life. Yeah, it is. It is really.
Thanks.
Not enough people
I'm
look
spoiled
like
brat.
that. No, it's beautiful. It's the life that you create for yourself, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then what are 3 top, and I'll link them as well, but what are 3 top free opportunities emerging artists should look at?
Free opportunities.
3 or 2 or 1.
So if
You talked about a few of them,
yeah,
so I guess
so
you can just
I
kind of
can
give
just,
one,
yeah,
I guess.
so emerging artists, the Elizabeth Greenshield's grant is wonderful. The Seymour Art Gallery, this is more specific to here though.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
fine.
where
Yeah.
Seymour Art Gallery, emerging artist call they have. I think it comes out maybe August, September. So keep an eye out for that. And then there are lots of public art calls for emerging artists.
Where do you find them?
That's what I need to look into, because a curator sent me a public art call for emerging artists. It's like what do you call it, vinyl art. They wanted to put vinyl art on some public bathrooms, and they were looking for emerging artists with work that's already been made that then they would compensate them for, and then use their work like that. And then there's little things like, I haven't done this myself, but it's not post boxes, some kind of
like the City of
those kind of
Vancouver has it.
things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
City of Vancouver actually has
There's a
lots
lot
of
of
art calls public art calls that they should keep an eye out on.
Yeah.
But all these galleries, I think it depends on, you have to sort of try your hand at because a lot of the times young artists don't know where their work would fit in. That's something that you struggle with post art college or once you start. So I think trying your putting things everywhere, putting your work into the public art gallery realm. They all have emerging artist calls, and then putting it in Vancouver public art calls, responding to those. So try all of them, and maybe even cold. Apparently, a lot of people cold email. Can't call it cold calling, but cold email.
Like
commercial art galleries.
Yeah.
And just send their work to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have this little disclaimer saying we don't take.
People do it anyway.
People do it anyway. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think Instagram is also one of the big ones.
It's a good resource for sure. And then last question. What no, it's a good one. It's a fun one. Don't worry. What 3 artists would you want this interview done to?
What 3 artists, sorry?
Would you like this interview? Would you like this type of interview to be done to?
Oh, what other artists?
Yeah. They can be alive or dead. It could be like a manifestation for me, or it could be like just artists that you would like these types of questions asked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love the dead bit.
Yeah.
So this is like a wild imagining. This is like a dream.
Or it can be like people that you know that you're like, oh, I would love for them
Or
to
them to
ask.
be,
Yeah.
I would love this kind of a conversation done with maybe Marlene Duma. I really like Marlene Duma.
I don't really.
Yeah. So some of those artists who I haven't, because I've heard a podcast about her work, but I haven't. Sorry. Another artist. So my heroes, more than artists, I think, are authors.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to do this interview with somebody like, I don't know, Maya Angelou.
Okay.
Or
I'll do it.
yeah, or like there's so many, Arundhati Roy or Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
So yeah, one of those people would be, or even James Baldwin.
I'll do it. I'll make it
I've
happen
had,
one day.
There is keep coming, but yeah, somebody like that would be very exciting. I think that hang up that I'm not educated. I'm like, these people are.
These people, and I would love to hear what they
They're
could
my
tell me.
heroes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one artist, one author, and then one other person. I'm gonna regret not having thought about this before, because later I'll think of all these names that
That's
I wish
okay.
I told it for you. Who else? Who else?
Be someone you know.
It could be someone I know.
Yeah.
I'm totally out. I'm saying I'm blanking.
Like,
Oh, I love Kara Walker. Could
Kara
you
Walker?
do Kara Walker
Okay.
too?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so
I mean,
much.
people we
Yeah.
know, there's so many. Like,
Yeah, I know.
There's so many. Sandeep, I've seen talks with her.
Yeah.
But that's more, you know.
Those are good. Those are a few.
There are a few, yeah.
And
then there's so many who already have so many interviews. So you're like,
I have to re-interview them. But my interviews would be the real
oh,
depth ones. Yeah.
The deep ones, exactly.
But yeah, no, thank you so much. It was honestly, you gave so much detail about your work, and it was really interesting. I really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
I hope I didn't put you to sleep. I'm just
No,
happy
not
you're
at
still
all.
awake.
This was lovely. I really like I said, I really love your work. So these are really genuinely questions that I really wanted to ask. And I'm so glad
I
you were
really
able
enjoyed
to
them, by
answer.
the way.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I was nervous. I was like, I
What
don't
is she
know.
gonna ask me?
No, less about that, but I do a lot of ums and I'm really awkward
You were
about
good.
interview on the video, so I was like, I don't know.
No, you were great.
Okay.
You.
I always that same thing, that same hang up. I feel like I'm not very articulate, and my language skills are like, ugh.
It's always hard for the people who've had like two languages. I feel that as well.
I think it's also like, you know,
Yeah.
I make so that I don't have to talk
Yeah.
a lot of the times. This should do it, but that's not how it is.
Yeah.
This
No, I
can't
know.
just do it. This can't just do it. So,
It's hard. And then, do you have anything that you have coming up that you want to share or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of things coming up. I have a show right now up at Act Gallery in Maple Ridge, and then I have for the New Year they do these lanterns in Granville Island.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, these large lanterns. So one of my paintings, this one actually got
Oh,
chosen
yeah.
for one of the lanterns, and that starts 9th. It opens 9th February, and then something else, but I'm
Well, I can
forgetting.
also link it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for now.
And where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram at mindforking, and I have a website which is Sara-Khan at Sara-Khan.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sara.